You're listening to a podcast by Last Minute Crack with your host, me, Christina Hamilton. Last Minute Crack is your one-stop shop for all things arts and culture in Dublin City. For more information, check out our website at lastminutecrack.com or visit us on Instagram at lastminutecrack. A special thank you to Thibaut Kemere for his help with the sound and for the music on this intro. Another thank you goes out to Zoe Spillane for her help managing the page. And now for your episode. Hey all you guys and gals and non-binary pals, this is Christina talking on Last Minute Chats, and I'm here with a very special guest, Kevin.
Gia Gwitch.
Gia Smurra, Constall.
Don't make that.
Oh,
Don't ask me more.
Here we go. I was like, I panicked too. I was like, I'm trying to learn French at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what's French either.
Oui.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going
It's
so
going
well.
yeah, excellent. Yeah.
But I find it really tricky because the two languages are in the same box in my brain.
Okay, yeah,
so if I go to France, I'm the best Gael goer in the world in France. Do you know what I mean? But if I'm in and try to speak Irish, I'm the best French speaker in that situation.
Yeah.
Anyways, for the people at home who do not know who you are, could you please introduce yourself?
Back to the old Cooper Fuckle.
Mm-hmm.
Pucá Tatú on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm a tattoo artist based in Dublin Ink, and I have been tattooing for over 13 years in Dublin Ink, and that's basically it. Yeah.
Cool.
For the most part.
Brilliant. And let's get into it.
Yeah.
So, you started off studying, was it like design or animation?
Animation. I did animation for 3 years, and then I did illustration for 2 years.
So was that something that was trying to get that got you into the concept of tattooing? I'm just wondering when that clicked for you.
Yeah, well, initially I had gone to art class because I want to be a comic book artist.
Cool.
And I'm big into comics and stuff, and I was always drawing that kind of stuff. And at the time, 2006, when I was doing is the CAO? Is that what it's called?
I think it's still, yeah.
Yeah, CAO. When I was doing that, animation was like the closest thing to kind of comic book.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Sequential art and stuff. So I basically gone to Ballet Firm to do that, but had done very, very brief couple of months doing comics in my final year kind of college, and realized I was not good at this. And it's a very, recluse type of lifestyle. At that time I was in my room just spending the whole summer drawing, and and I wasn't good at it, or not where I wanted to be, but and then I was heading into my final year then into art college, and I'd always been into tattoos. My older brother growing up had always had tattoo magazines, and then the likes of Miami Ink came on TV, and that kind of just made it appear more accessible. It wasn't kind of prior to seeing Miami Ink, any tattoo studios I had been in were very, very different. You know what I mean? And you're talking about pretty rural parts of Ireland that didn't, it was very maybe one guy would be there every other day of the week, or it wasn't as it didn't look as art focused as say the likes of Miami Ink or something like that, but then I gotten a few tattoos, and I was already thinking that maybe this is the route I want to go, So final year of college, I kind of refocused my portfolio on more tattoo styles and aesthetic and stuff, and then before I finished, I got my apprenticeship.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you started your apprenticeship in Dublin Ink.
In Dublin Ink, yeah.
So how did that happen?
At the time, my older brother was looking to get a tattoo. He asked me to design it for him, so I did. And then when he went into Dublin Ink, I think Dublin Ink had only opened. They weren't open that long. I'd say they were maybe open a year, if even, And he had popped in, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I want to get something." And this is my reference image, And the lads were like, "Oh, that's great. Where'd you get that from?" And he was like, "Oh, well, actually, my brother did it, and he wants to be a tattoo artist." Yeah. So I think they kind of told him "Oh yeah, send him in if he wants. We can have a chat with him and stuff." And then I'd gone in a handful of times, I think, and they were kind of giving me "Oh yeah, well, draw this and see what we think, and draw that and see what we think," and all that kind of stuff. So I'd done a handful of that, and then they were just basically "Ah yeah, no, kind of you've done enough. You can start," So I was literally, because obviously when you're studying art in college, you're always going to be worried about what prospects do you have after college.
Yeah, always.
It's always going to be, and every artist goes through that essentially. But I was very fortunate. Kind of then, before I even graduated from college, I knew I had a job.
That's really handy. Your style of tattoos is very specific, I would say. It's the blackwork, but was that from the get-go,
No.
like the style that you were gravitating for?
No.
Okay, let's talk about how did you discover your own style?
Well, I kind of like, initially when I got into tattooing, I was really enamored by traditional, kind of mostly American traditional, you know, and
That seems to be like a common starting point.
yeah, I'd say because like I think it is because when most people think of tattooing or tattoos, I think their kind of go-to image is of that kind of American traditional, that sailor tattoo aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like that's what we think when we think of tattoos. You look at, what was it, Ed Hardy? Ed Hardy is like one of the largest kind of say fashion brands that has a tattoo aesthetic, and that's all derived from traditional stuff. I think his mentor was Sailor Jerry, who's a super famous traditional tattoo artist. You know, he has his own room and all that kind of stuff that was out there for a while. But I think that's probably what most people's, especially that time, and maybe still today, but most people's initial exposure to tattooing would be that traditional aesthetic. So kind of I was drawn to it. I was interested in it for the first number of years, and then I remember at one stage I kind of started to kind of like deviate away from it, you know, and I started deviating away from it, like my hat. But I started deviating away from it, and I was doing kind of some more like animated comic book kind of pop culture type stuff. And it was funny at the time, one of our managers, he turned around to me and said like, look, I can't push this stuff. No one's going to want this stuff, you know. It's never going to take off, blah, blah. And then, you know, fast forward years later, I bumped into him again and he was like, well, I have to apologize because it's so popular now. All that kind of, you know, animation, anime, comic book, pop culture, that's really popular now, you know. But no, I did the traditional, and then I kind of said, like I said, I did some illustrative kind of type stuff. But then I focused on neo-trad. Neo-traditional, if you know what that is, it kind of bridges the gap between realism and traditional.
Okay.
So like you'd have more realistic shapes in neo-traditional than you would have in traditional, because traditional is kind of like in its essence, and it's the aesthetic, and it's part I like about it. It's crude, you know, like they can't. Some of the designs can be crude, but that's in no way shade. Like I think it looks great, you know. But and I have loads of traditional on me, but yeah. So neo-traditional kind of marries the two, traditional and realism. So you have like, you know, different line weights, more realistic shapes, maybe more realistic subject matter and stuff like that. But then it's, you know, it can be full color, different colors, black and gray, whatever, you know. So I was doing neo-trad for a good portion or a good period. And then kind of segued into, like, I think one of my colleagues was away at the time and was getting delayed. She was trying to sort out her visa. And she was getting delayed. And then some of her bookings were kind of piling up and people wanted to get their tattoos and stuff. So they asked me, would I kind of give her a dig out and do some of their bookings, you know? But that was all dot work. And I was just like, oh, well, I haven't really done much of that. But I'll give it a shot, you know? And I loved it. And I did dot work then, kind of dot work stuff for years. But it's still kind of in a more realistic, neo-traditional sense, you know? And I did lots of portraits and all that kind of stuff. But about 6 years ago, I don't know what it was. I think I was going to a convention or something and I wanted to do some flashes, and I decided I'd do this kind of more blackwork type of stuff, you know? And I did a few, and it was probably one of the more successful conventions I've ever had, you know, in terms of just like kind of like going there, having no bookings, still kind of building up my clientele, having these like flashes and stuff. And it just kind of not blew up, but I was busy, you know? And then I think I came back and a client had booked in for something, and I was designing it the way I'd normally design stuff. And then I was just like, you know what? No, I'm going to kind of just design it the way I kind of would like to do it. More the blackwork type of style, you know? And I showed him and he loved it. So we did it. And that kind of got shared then around by some of the pages I kind of liked early in my career. And I was just like, oh, like, you know, that's kind of reinforcing or validating, you know? So, but it was a natural thing, you know, in the sense of just kind of like, there was no necessarily kind of like conscious decision to move into that kind of direction and stuff. But I have to say, out of all the styles I've done, it's definitely the one that, like, say beforehand, when I was doing traditional and you asked me for a traditional rose, skull, and say candle, I'd be like, oh, okay, and I'd go off and I'd look at that and I'd kind of build up my reference from traditional stuff, you know. Where this one, if you ask me for that kind of tattoo, I'm not looking at anything, you know. I'm just basing it off of my own aesthetic taste and choices, you know what I mean? Like, so it comes more naturally to me. So that was kind of nice, but it takes time to find your own style. I think someone told me it takes like 7 or 8 years, and then actually when I look back at my career, it was about 7 or 8 years before I started doing the black work. So it does take time, you know. And like, it's good to try it all, you know. People still ask me for traditional or whatever. I was like, I can do it, you know, it's fine. Yeah.
Interesting. So I have so many questions, they're all buzzing around. I guess we were talking earlier about promotion. And so promoting yourself as a tattoo artist, how does that work? Because I was actually, when I was doing my research, I found it, I would, if I was a tattoo artist, I wouldn't make it, first of all, because I'm very bad at drawing. But I saw like Reddit posts where people would post, I saw for yours, like or/tattoo, and people would post the picture and people would just comment on it. Like, it's so, there's that, and then there's conventions, and there's a lot of like different things happening in this space. I thought it was just like word of mouth, but it seems to be so much more.
Well, I guess like everything, 10, 20 years ago was word of mouth, but now obviously with the, the kind of the invention of social media and all that kind of stuff, it's changed. Yeah. So like, you just have subcultures and communities everywhere and online and in every corner of the internet, so I'm not really aware of how like I've never posted to Reddit or anything like that at all, so I'm not like say super aware of how that stuff works and things, but I have been told that my tattoos are on Reddit and have gone,
they're very popular.
Yeah, they've gotten a good
well
response.
received.
Yeah, they're well received. Yeah. But I haven't got a clue. Like, I've just started using Reddit recently, and it's like mostly for comics. So I have to have some like kind of like boundary somewhere. You know what I mean? But yeah. But that's good.
Yeah. But the conventions. So are they when you're going? So I've never been to a tattoo convention, but I've heard they're very popular. Do you go there to get tattooed? Do you go there to get inspired? Like who's going?
So basically, yeah, like. So when I attend a convention, I've only ever worked a convention. I've never actually attended one as a spectator or whatever you want to say.
Member of the pub.
Yeah. So I've only ever worked at them. And but say for your person who's going there buying a ticket and attending an event, well, like lots of tattoo artists will be there from around the world. So maybe it's a good opportunity to get tattooed by somebody that isn't as accessible to you from where you're based or whatever, so that's a good opportunity to get tattooed by them. A lot of artists will be selling t-shirts and prints and tote bags and all sorts of merch. So yeah, like kind of like you can always go there, get some cool stuff, some unique stuff, support artists that way and stuff. But absolutely, yeah, get tattooed. People often just go in and kind of like they walk around, and if to get the the notion or something tickles their fancy, they'll just like they'll get tattooed and stuff.
Bit of blank space over here.
Yeah. But you see it all the time. Yeah, cool. For sure. Yeah, people like they're a great day out for people that kind of like aren't necessarily around tattoos all the time, because all of a sudden like you can be in a room full of them, everybody's really chatty. That's the point of them, is kind of network, put promotion. Like you'll network with other artists and you'll network with clients or people and promote yourself, and obviously if you're someone who's going there to attend it, it's a great way to meet artists and stuff. Yeah.
So when you started off with tattooing, were you drawing it? Because what I'm trying to get to is it seems a lot more like tech based now, with all the different like softwares that you have to use. What are you using, and how did it begin?
Yeah, so like kind of I make myself sound really old, but everything changes so fast, I guess, to a degree. But when I started, it was like we were just using pencils and paper and like tracing pad, and like maybe you draw up your design and you show your customer and they'd be like, oh, I don't like this thing, so you'd have to go back to the drawing board and you have to redraw, or maybe you trace another section of it, bring that over and kind of add on to it and stuff. But we did that. We did, like, when I started, we were doing hand stencils. We all had coil machines. People were using pens, but they weren't as commonly used, the tattoo pens. And coil machines, and we were hand drawing stuff, and we were hand stenciling and all that kind of thing. But I think I bought my iPad and I still have the same iPad, and it's on its last legs. But I bought my iPad in 2016, and when I initially bought it, and like I am tech savvy in a sense of just like I can just throw my hand to anything, like I'll work it out, it's fine, But
there's YouTube tutorials, do you know what I mean?
There's YouTube tutorials, yeah. And when I initially got my iPad, I was like, oh God, I'm about to spend the money on this bloody thing, and I cannot use it. I was just so bad at it. But I'd say within 2 months, then all of a sudden it's just like, just elevate your work. Kind of like it's so much easier. If someone doesn't like a design, you don't have to redraw it. You just go there, cut that little section out, and redraw. It's far more efficient.
Yeah. Do you think people like what are the softwares that people are like? I'm thinking about like little tattoo artists to be out there. What should they start like looking at?
Like, to be honest, if you are kind of like, if you are aspiring to be a tattoo artist and you want to kind of start going that way, I'd honest to God start with just a pencil and paper.
Really?
Yeah, because like it's the easiest. You know what I mean? Like you're going to kind of like, you have less crutches with it, you know, in terms of like, you know, obviously when you use an iPad, it has like so many like great features and all that kind of stuff, and that can elevate you and really help you and stuff. But I think initially starting, you should use paper and pencil. You know, that's the most affordable, easiest, best way. And like, you'll know, you can commit to a paper, buy yourself a sketchbook, buy a pencil. You can commit to that, and if you like that and that works out for you, you fill that sketchbook. Then you know that like I can justify buying an iPad or something like that. You know, because I do know lots of people that buy iPads and then they just end up being like
paperweights.
Yeah, kind of just like that's where they watch the Netflix or you know read. Exactly. Which is, you know, that's fine. But no, like if you're starting off, don't worry about like there's like I see it all the time in the art industry. People would always ask like, oh, what stuff do you use? What kind of, you know, what kind of or brushes do you use? And Procreate would be the software I use, but what kind of brushes do you use or this or that? And it's just kind of like, don't worry about it. You know, like kind of just draw. Yeah, and paper and pencil is the best way. It's you know, it's easily, you know, carried around, whatever, portable. So
that's cool. Yeah. I'd love that. I remember reading when I was doing a little bit of background, and I was quite surprised to see this. You get quite a range of clientele, it seems. You were writing in, I think it was in the Indo, about how you get people from all kind of walks of life and all kind of ages. And specifically in this one, you were talking about a 70-year-old who ended up getting the full suit at some point or something like this.
Oh yeah, well, geez, I can't remember exactly that that article and stuff like that, but oh no, like kind of like well, like, you meet all people or people from all walks of life, and you meet some people that start much later in their life, like 60s, 70s, getting tattoos and all that kind of stuff. I think one of the oldest clients we had, I want to say she was definitely from the UK, but I want to say she was maybe Scottish, and she came over with her two nieces and stuff for a weekend, and like a kind of girls' weekend, and she was 84. She got her first tattoo, and like she was loving it. She was having a great time.
Really?
You know, So like, like look, tattooing is just becoming like, and you can see it. You walk, you're you know, you're based in central Dublin. You walk outside your door, you can see tattoo shops everywhere. You know, So like they're becoming more and more socially acceptable and all that kind of stuff. And any stigmas that are there are kind of very fastly, you know,
dissipated.
Yeah, for sure.
In the same article, I saw that somebody came in and they were asking for a balloon animal dog. Is there been any like request, like a crazy request that really sticks out in your mind for your career?
Well, I did do a tattoo on a great customer of mine, a chap called Brian, and it was a balloon animal dog. But I can't remember the discussion we had, but I think he wanted a girl with a balloon animal dog, and I kind of said it could be cool to flip it and have a balloon animal dog with a piece of string, and the girl kind of, you know, being the balloon, if you get me, you know. And he went for it. So like that was a really good one. You know, we had this like really kind of like realistic kind of like, you know, shapes and tones and this balloon animal dog, and then the string coming up to it, and the girl kind of like just arms out floating in the sky and stuff, you know. But that was a fun one for sure. That's
cool. There's always the kind of, I guess, ongoing joke in the tattoo world, I feel, of like the stereotypical tattoos that you have to do all the time. Back in the day, it was like the infinity sign or a feather or birds. Is there any tattoo that you're like done with?
No, look, I'm going to be really, really honest with you. I'm very chill.
Yeah.
I'm very chill when it comes to tattoos. Like my attitude is, if I'm tattooing, I'm happy, you know. I'm working, I'm doing my thing, you know. And like some people, like I know,
not even a lion.
Nah,
with a clock.
Nah, I'm easy. I'm easy, and I don't. To be honest, like
with roses.
Here, look, books are open. If you want that, I'll do it. You know, if it's my style, I'll do it. But no, like I'm actually kind of like, no, I'm really relaxed with that. And like, to be honest, like I can post tattoos all day, every day and stuff, and people say that they're great and things like that. Like, but or kind of whatever. But it's the customer's ideas. You know what I mean? Like my customers genuinely have great ideas. Like if I 99% of the time when I post something, like unless it's flash or something, I've done it myself, but 99% of the time, like whatever I post, it's the customer's idea. They just give me free rein and I can interpret it with my own way, you know. But no, all the great ideas, like all the stuff, like, you know, no, I don't get that many repetitive stuff at all, you know. And like even if say blackwork, like in the type of blackwork I do, of course, there's repetitive themes. You often do lots of black widows, lots of Greek statues and all that kind of stuff. But I lap that stuff up. I'm easy.
Your work is beautiful, by the way, if I haven't said that before.
Yeah,
I'm a big
thank
fan.
you. Yeah, appreciate it.
I feel like sometimes the jump to your first tattoo can be quite a big hurdle. I'm wondering, And I have an idea what the answer is to this question, but for people who are a bit nervous about maybe, because a DM is quite, you know, personal, I guess.
Okay.
Or like a form and you want to give all the details up front and whatever. Like, is there anything that would prevent you from tattooing someone? Like, from, like, obviously the regular, like, you can't come in drunk or on drugs, blah, blah, blah. But is there anything, like, what's the perfect way to start that conversation, I guess, is a better way of reframing.
Yeah, so like kind of, I often see like Instagram, and like, you know, obviously each their own, but I often see artists on Instagram saying no DMs, email only, you know. But for me, it's just like, no, Instagram's the app I use to get my art out there, to you know, meet new people, or to talk with clients, existing clients, or meet new clients, all that kind of stuff. I like to keep it in the one place. So for me, and I enjoy Instagram, and I get inspired by it, of course, and I follow friends and artists and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, it's a work tool. You know what I mean? Like that's what I use Instagram for, you know? So yeah, if people want to DM, like I do all my bookings through DM, you know what I mean? Like my girlfriend will tell you I'm terrible at emails. Yeah. Don't ask me to CC it. It's not going to happen. I've made that mistake a few times, but but no, like for me, I'm like, the easiest way to go about it, DM me, tell me what you're looking for, you know? I'll tell you what dates I work. You know, we can talk budget if that's necessary. But yeah, kind of like the easiest way is just to send a message.
Okay.
Yeah, and just open up that dialogue.
Okay, cool. I guess is there a perfect, like, do you prefer if everybody has like their stuff up like very straightforward, all in one thing, or do you prefer like kind of more of a conversational back and forth to try and discover kind of something?
No, to be honest, every client is different. Every client has different needs and stuff. I don't intentionally try to keep it short, but you know, I don't really do in-person consultations. I just don't. When I'm in the studio, I'm tattooing, you know. If people want to come in and chat about a tattoo idea, that's no problem. They can do that, you know. Cool. But no, like I'm quite happy to kind of keep it on Instagram, and you know, like short and sweet to a degree. You know, all you got to do is tell me what you want, where you want it, and like I said, if you have a budget or anything that's fine. But and then I'll just book you in. You know, like I'm kind of, again, fairly relaxed about it. You know, if like kind of like if you come in and have the design ready and you want to make changes, that's okay. Like we have time for that. You know what I mean? But yeah, like kind of, yeah, pretty much.
So Dublin Ink and yourself have ran a gig or two, a little comedy little thing recently enough. How did with the
Bag of Cats? Yes, yeah.
How did that come along?
Well, long story short, Aidan of the Bag of Cats is one of my good friends, one of my close friends. Yeah. I met him through. So when I was in Ballyfermot studying illustration, I met a chap in there. He became one of my good friends, and he was friends with Aidan. And then over the years, me and Aidan became good friends. But yeah, Aidan just and like I will say in the last like I'll say 3 or 4 years. Anyways, 4 years, Aidan has started doing stand-up and getting involved in improv and all that kind of stuff, and I've always tried to be supportive. And then I think at one stage he was kind of saying that it's hard to find a venue for these things and blah blah blah, and like we have always done shows in Dublin Ink. Like we did a comedy show years and years ago. We've done loads of concerts, and then it kind of like, Aidan was talking about it, and I said just use the shop, you know. So Norby, the owner of Dublin Ink, has been very kind to facilitate it, and they've always been really good. They've always been good fun. They've always had a great turnout, and yeah, I think the guys enjoy it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we went to at least one of them, and it was one of the most bizarre and unreal like experiences, because I think ours was the first one we went to, and the first time I met you was for Halloween.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And so everybody was dressed up, and the important thing to note about the Bag of Cats shows is that they do it for charity. So it was a fundraiser for charity, and it was and it was BYOB, and everybody was like, random people were turning up in the most bizarre costumes. Yeah. And then you were running around. I was like, I was feeling like I was in a weird fever dream, because I'm like, none of these things going together at all. You would never think into it.
It's great though. To be honest, I love those shows because sometimes you see people in the shop that would never probably set foot in a tattoo shop, you know, but they're getting in there and they're kind of seeing like, oh, this is a cool space, or this is a vibe, you know, and yeah, it's cool. It's fun for that stuff. But that Halloween show was good fun. Yeah,
it was really fun. I definitely think it's interesting to step into a tattoo shop, even because I think as a person who doesn't have tattoos, you could have a very specific idea of how it is.
Absolutely.
You know, you see you're influenced by your friends and how they have theirs, or it's this. And when we went in, I was just mesmerized by, I think it was all the different styles and all the different techniques, and like some of them were really funny and then some of them were very intricate.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was an incredible. And you see all the merch and you're like, maybe this is my new personality now.
Yeah, well, why not, you know? But yeah, like I remember even kind of like say before I worked in the industry, and even still to today, you know. But like before I worked particularly though, I'd walk into a tattoo shop and I would feel, you know, like intimidated. Like sometimes it can be intimidating spaces. And obviously as like, you know, as social media has grown and like the perception of tattoos has changed and stuff, that's less so the case and things. But I think I always wanted like the shop to be a place that is just like, yeah, just not like kind of a nice place to come, like kind of, you know, not intimidating, that people there are friendly and happy to help you and all that kind of stuff. And like they are, you know, and I know more shops are going that way, of course, you know, but like even as a tattoo artist, I still can go into a shop maybe, you know, in a different country or something and be like low key kind of like, oh, this is kind of intimidating, you know what I mean? Like, but no, that's, and I think that's kind of what the likes of the Bag of Cash shows and all that kind of stuff helps with that thing, you know, it kind of helps to break down those kind of walls or those, you know, perceptions of things, you know.
It was amazing. But now you're speaking on intimidation, and I need to hit you with my big question.
Yes.
How does it not freak you out that you're putting something on someone that's going to be there forever?
Yeah, like it's definitely something that wasn't really kind of discussed or talked about when I started my apprenticeship, you know. When I was doing my apprenticeship, it was in Dublin Ink, but it wasn't owned by Norbert Lads at the time. It was owned by somebody else, and it was, you know, it was a different shop. Once Norbert took it over, things also changed, you know. But it wasn't really talked about, you know. And I remember I headed down to All Star in Limerick City, and I was getting tattooed by a guest artist there, a gentleman called Luke Wesman. And Luke, he'd be a fairly kind of prominent tattooer in America. He was being on TV and all that kind of stuff. And I was a big fan of his, so I went down there and got tattooed. But when Luke was tattooing me, he was like, oh, so you're an apprentice and you're starting, and he was really nice and really helpful and stuff. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, how do you feel about like hurting people, you know, or putting these things on your bodies for life, you know, because no one talks about that, you know, no one talks about that. No one kind of says like, yeah, you are kind of, you know, you're doing a big thing here. Like, you're marking someone for life, you know, they will carry that, you know, for as long as they live, you know, for the most part, and you're hurting them, you know what I mean? Like, and like I love my job and I love tattooing and stuff, but it sucks when someone's in pain. Like when someone's really feeling it, of course. And like I'm tattooed, I know this sucks. I hate getting tattooed, but it's really hard because it's counterintuitive. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to hurt somebody. No. You know what I mean? Like so when you're there and you are tattooing someone and the person's struggling, like I really feel for them. Like I get like, you know, I'm like, oh God, you know, you could do it, stick with it, you know. But yeah, no, kind of putting stuff on people forever. The concept of kind of like, you know, deliberately hurting people and all that kind of stuff, like there are some kind of like definitely hills to overcome when you start initially, for sure, you know. And it's exposure. You get used to it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like kind of, you know, certainly back in the early days when I was tattooing, like, you know, yeah, like I was really learning and stuff, and I started like, you know, kind of I stepped out of the kind of the apprenticeship, you know, level, and I was going more like kind of junior artist and stuff. And like you could have a big piece and I'd almost be kind of just like, oh, you know what, don't get on the forearm, you know, it's like get on your leg or somewhere where you don't have to see it up close all the time, you know. But that's just it. Like that's you know, I think a lot of artists would maybe admit to that, you know. But yeah, they're all things you have to get over, you know what I mean? Like and it takes time, you know what I mean? I'm sure people are kind of talk about those things a little bit more now and stuff, but yeah, there's like, everybody might think like it's just the challenges of learning to draw or learning the medium of tattooing and stuff, but there's lots of nuances and other things and other aspects of things that you have to kind of come to terms with and get over, you know. Not get over, but yeah.
I never even, until you said that, I never even thought about the fact that you're hurting people. It's just like I was just thinking of the end game. I never even that's so interesting. I know, I can barely believe it, but it has been almost half an hour now and we're getting to the end of the episode.
Crazy.
It's been gone so fast.
We'll have to do part 2 at a time.
But for those who are begging for more, we'll be over on Patreon in 2 minutes having a little bit more of a chat. But before we wrap up, I would love you to plug your pluggables. Where can people find you? I think it's kind of an already given answer. And anything else you wanted to chat about?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Pucá Tatú, Pucatatu, on Instagram. That's where you can find me online. That's where you can book in. My books are always open. I am based in Dublin Ink on Georgia Street. It's our new studio. We're there a year now, I think. So if you haven't been down to the new shop, check it out. And I guess follow Bag of Cats, Aidan O'Sullivan's comedy. What would you call it? Troupe. Yes, comedy troupe. Follow Bag of Cats, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes,
Thank you so much for
joining
doing
a handshake.
Absolutely. See, got a seal of approval over here. My hand's covered in tattoo.
Oh no, it's a virus. Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll chat to you soon. Goodbye.